Well, here I am again with another episode of the podcast of Still with two guests, two for the price of one. I've got Neb's Good Takes and Croc on the show to talk about everything, to talk about the Blue Beetle movie, to talk about the Blue Beetle Battalion hashtag that you started and it's been a huge success, and just everything and everything in between. So hello and welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Lovely to be here. Thank you so much.
No, that's it. I'm excited to talk to you both. I've been following you online for a while. I've seen what you've been doing. I've been loving talking to everybody that has been a part of this movie, people that have watched the movie and enjoyed the movie. And you've both helped with your presence online. You've helped promote this film in a difficult time, which we will get to in a moment. I've got some questions for you. But first, what I like to get out of my guests is their origin story, as it were. So where did it all begin for you guys when it came to being an online presence?
Wow, that's a pretty loaded question because we're pretty intertwined.
You are.
I mean, Neb, do you want to take it, or like we can go back
Yeah,
to
sure.
like the Discord server we met on was back in like 2019. We just were both big fans of the TV show Titans. We're big DC fans, and we've always been, and we both really bonded over that show. It was in development hell for a very long time, but we always knew it was going to have like Nightwing and like Starfire and all these amazing characters that we haven't seen adapted into live action yet. So we were just like, man, we have to be there like day one. And we were supporting that show. And we have gone through thick and thin with that TV show.
Yeah.
So the Blue Beetle Battalion is like light work after, having to deal with Titans. I don't have to go into all that drama here, but we ended up talking, getting to know each other really well. And now many years later, we're together, married, and living happily, and advocating and very loudly and proudly standing up for the Blue Beetle Battalion. So it's been quite a road.
Yeah, and we were very fortunate enough to be in that Discord server, as he said, and the moderator of it, or like the creator of it, he just had a Twitter account, and it just seemed like a lot of fun. He was a bit of an insider with information on that streaming service it was on. So we just thought, well, we can do that too. And then he retweeted all our stuff for a long time, and that's how we just built up our presence, really. And now we're here. This is not what we anticipated whatsoever.
Yeah, no, it's been really a blessing to kind of have like the platforms that we have, because it just kind of, yeah, we've loved talking about comics, and it's really cool that people love and feel like this contagious passion to like also like spread that love and talk about the same things, and they like hearing us talk about it. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, I do. I'm a big fan of your interactions with your fans. Your personalities both come through online. I can see the attitude. I can see the sass. I can see the comedy in your posts. You don't hold back, which I'm a big fan of. But the passion is there from the very beginning. You can see that you care for these characters and this fandom, and you want things to do well for the right reasons, not just for the sake of a film making money, but for fans to have a good fan service. And I appreciate that, and I'm a fan of that. And we can get into the really exciting thing soon, like a very exciting dinner date that you had recently. I saw that pop up, and I was like, okay, how did that happen? We'll get to that. But yes, the Blue Beetle Battalion hashtag. That's something that I've seen pretty much on every single Blue Beetle post. It's almost as if, well, I'm sure Warner Brothers are very happy with the marketing that you've given them, because it's been everywhere. How did that come to be?
Man, so about, I want to say like 45 days ago, so not long at all. My friend Sabrina, a good friend of ours, she's also on like Twitter, and we've ended up going on like double dates with her and her boyfriend Blake, who are both, they have their own fair platforms on like social media where they also talk about comics. We ended up kind of realizing we have very similar situations, and we got to meet up a couple times. And Yeah, they're just lovely people. We love hanging out with them. And she was talking about how in 40 days Blue Beetle was coming out. We only had one trailer and only one piece of
Mm.
like real marketing. And we're just like, oh no, we can't do this again. And this movie looks so good. Ever since like the first set photos came out back in like last year when we saw the suit, and it was just like so perfectly adapted. We're just like, no, this would be a crime if it didn't get the, you know, the love and the passion that it deserves. And especially after things like, you know, what happened with Batgirl, it was just like, no, we don't want to see that happen again. So like, I know DC fans are very divided and very strong-headed in many ways,
Yes.
but at the end of the day, like me and Neb, you know, we're just kind of silly guys. And we really enjoy just like loving comics. So like at the end of the day, if like it doesn't work out and if people like, you know, don't see the movie, if they don't like have a good time, and it's just like, dang, that kind of sucks. But it's like, I don't think there's too much we're losing out of it as just being fans. Like, you know, we're not Warner Brothers. We're not going to go broke. Like, we just want to talk about the things we want to talk about and share love. And so I was just like, hey, like, you know, since we're like 40 days out and there's like no marketing, like Neb has had his own adventures. If you want to talk about Neb, advocating for prior DC material, Stargirl being a good example. I'll let you go on that tangent because I've been talking for a bit.
So yeah, it was just I was pretty exhausted as a DC fan, honestly. You know, it's yeah, at the end of the day, you have the comments. It's not that big of a deal, but it was just kind of funny. You know, DC hasn't been doing too well. It's not a secret. Where, you know, a big movie would try to come out, I try to hype it up like Black Adam,
Mm.
uh, really any of them, you know, The Flash, it was just massive bomb after massive bomb. And just one morning, Croc woke me up and is like, yo, you gotta promote Blue Beetle this time. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do this again. I've done this too much. Everything gets canceled. Everything makes $2 at the box office. This is annoying. But I was like, you know, fine, you know, it'll be funny. It's whatever. Who cares? So yeah, it's worth a shot. And yeah, we started that hashtag, and it was just, you know, there was nothing really going on for the movie release. So I'm happy we could start something out of it. And yeah, it caught on really quickly. I was worried that some people would get the wrong idea because it's kind of similar to like the Morbius memes when that was a thing.
Mm.
But I'm glad people realize it's not like that. It's trying to be like a well-intentioned version of that, where, you know, everybody was in on the joke with Morbius, where we just knew that movie was not going to be good anyway.
Yeah.
But this was just like genuine. Everybody who's been involved in this has wanted this movie to succeed as much as it possibly can. And I'm happy to have helped, you know, regardless of how much I've actually helped. You know, it's not really quantifiable, but yeah, I'm really proud of it. Like, it's cute.
I
I
mean, yeah.
think one thing about it, oh, sorry,
No, no, go on.
uh, that has been really interesting to see as like time has gone on, because like when we had just like one trailer out and like the suit, the quality of the movie was very much so up in the air. Like
Mm.
we didn't know really what to expect, but we just knew, hey, we love Blue Beetle, we love this character. He doesn't deserve to be put out back and like, you know, taking a gun to the head. Like we didn't want to see that happen, man. So even if the movie wasn't like, you know, that great or anything, I still, you know, wanted to share some love for like some DC material because we're just big fans. And as time went on and like slowly and slowly more things started trickling out, we started to realize, oh no, like they actually do care a lot. And I became so proud to be behind this movie because it just the passion, and I'm using that word a lot, but I really truly mean it. There's so much love put into this movie. And while other movies may like there's some lines in the trailer, like one of them that really, you know, sticks out to me, and it's kind of silly, is like, you know, that love for your family, it's what like makes you weak. And he's like, no, it's what makes me strong. And like that's just a generic kind of line, but the movie earns it. The movie really does a great job of earning it in a way that other movies don't necessarily do. So it's just like, you know, it feels like it fell victim to a lot of that, as well as just terrible timing with the way the DC universe is being rebooted right now with DC Studios. So like a lot of people are just like, why do I even have to bother? And it sucks because like this movie you should care, and this character is going to be carried over into that new DC universe, and we're going to see more of him. And but the quantity of how much we see of him probably very much so relies on the success of this film and how it does. And I'm really happy to see that the fan reception has been pretty high praise across the board. I've seen a lot of people really, coming out in droves to support this film and be like, hey, this is like, just a really good movie, a really good adaptation of the character. And that's like honestly just one of the things that means the most to me, because I can't say that about every DC movie that I feel like, oh man, they really hit the nail on the head. Like Titans was painful, man. Like they made a lot of mistakes on that show, but at the end of the day, I felt like they really, where are you going to see those characters in live action anywhere else? So it's just like I still had to stand by it, even though it kind of got clowned on nonstop, and for good reason. It was a guilty pleasure, and I'm not afraid to admit that. But Blue Beetle is not that. Blue Beetle is just like a genuinely love-filled movie where they truly cared about the source material, and it shows from the cast to the crew to the director, all across the board. It's just a really well made and well loved project. And yeah, no, it was really cool to be able to make this hashtag, and not only to have that hashtag like kind of pop off, but like people saw it, people noticed it, and like yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a difficult time, as you said. It's sort of everything that could go wrong with the timing, then the strikes, then everything else that could just add to a list of things that could not help this movie. In a way, you did what you could. You got on your soapboxes, as it were, and you helped promote this movie the best way you did. And a lot of your tweets, a lot of your posts got a lot of traffic. People were seeing not only the Blue Beetle Battalion hashtag, but also just Blue Beetle. You were doing the marketing for this film in a way, and I'm sure it's helped. I mean, I'm looking forward to see the film again and again. I loved it, as you said. It hit the nail on the head with so many things. That family aspect, the fun, the laughter, the heart, the joy that you could feel in the theater when enjoying this movie. I need more cinematic experiences like that. And it was such a joy. But one of those exciting things that we talked about is that yes, you did have dinner with a certain someone, didn't you? How did that happen? And please tell us more about that.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not
that
sure how
was
much we can say actually.
so that
Oh,
was
okay.
pretty crazy. I mean, I think we can go into it. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Uh,
I think where it started was just like, we'd post something and then we'd look at the likes and we'd look at the retweets and we'd be like, wait, did like the director see this? Did like, and like we started noticing that like, it would really have massive reach, and like, people were starting to see that, and like yeah, like casting crew members were like starting to like and really pick up on the hashtag, and we were just like, whoa, this is kind of crazy. And then when Joel made that video talking about not being able to promote the video and having to go on strike, and he at the end of that video shouted out the Blue Beetle Battalion, and I think that's the moment we knew, that's the moment we realized like, oh, we can't stop, we have to keep on going, because like, he's given us like the gold stamp of approval. He was really loving the support, and we're just like, yeah, no, we're backing the right horse, we need to keep on going, we can't stop.
yeah. And part of it is that, obviously it's amazing. It's just that reasonably, some people have asked us, like, is this not like, scabbing? Like there's a strike going on. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify, like, we did ask everybody in, the proper channels. We have several sources who are literally at the picket lines. We did everything to make sure that everything was totally fine because, this is his own thing, but it's not more important than Hollywood and people's lives and careers. And, so yeah, we were just reached out to by like someone in production, and it was just that Jolo and the director and all that, they were just really grateful for what we had done when, obviously they were not in the position to do anything, and just not even as a promotional thing or what have you. Like Jolo just wanted to meet up with us just to just have a nice time and just like eat some really good tacos and just like get
Yeah.
to meet us, know like our whole deal and everything, and just have a good time. And yeah, like that was just the coolest, like definitely one of the coolest experiences of my life. Like he's so nice, definitely one of the coolest people I've ever met for sure.
Yeah, he
It,
seems so passionate just about everything, whether it be Cobra Kai, whether it be Blue Beetle, whether it be about meeting fans. He's very likable, is what I like. But it seems so genuine. A lot of times you can sort of see some people on sort of press tours. They know they're doing the whole spiel, but sometimes you can just get a sense when someone's doing it out of their own goodness. And yeah, that looked like a very special moment.
that energy you see from him on screen as Jaime very much so still like shines through in real life. He's just as much, if not more, of like just like he's like a puppy, man. He's so sweet. He's so nice. He was just, so happy and enthusiastic to just even be there and be able to meet us. And he not only did he like, come out and meet us, and he drove like twice the distance to go to this place and eat tacos. He drove out of his way. He kept on being like, "Oh, thank you for coming out. Thank you for making the drive." And we're like, "No, you were the one who like you drove like 3 or 4 hours to get here, man. I just drove like an hour, like for like meeting you, and like who am I?" So it's like it was this really cool thing where he was just so grateful, and he bought us our food too, which he totally didn't need to do, but he was just, yeah, super hospitable, and yeah, just super nice to us, and that was just such a blessing. And then to have like and it kept on just getting crazier and crazier after that, because then after that we're like, okay, we gotta like, how do we step it up from here? Like, that's already such a massive thing. So we started reaching out because we had met the writer for the Blue Beetle Graduation Day comic, who's
Yes.
also making the ongoing that's going to be coming out in September. Yeah, dude, it's so good,
slight
man. I
slight plug.
love
It's a
it.
fantastic read. Fantastic.
It's
And
so good. It's unbelievable.
we got to meet him back in March at WonderCon, and then again at the Flash premiere, which was really funny. It was a really yeah, it was just, we're just looking over and we're just like, is that him? And then like, it clicked in our heads, and it's just like it's really funny just that we've had the coincidental experiences that we've had. And so we said hi, and so he just kind of knows us now. We kind of just, built a small little like relationship with him, where we just are able to be like, hey, like, what's going on, man? Like every once in a while we like DM each other or whatever. So I was like, hey man, like, I know about this Blue Beetle Battalion thing, and I wanted to put together this interview where we could just talk about graduation day, talk about the ongoing, what to look forward to. And I think that would be a really cool thing to do, to just highlight the comics. So getting to go out there and get that interview with him was so cool. He's such a sweet man. And yeah, it just kind of kept on going from there. And every time we'd like be driving out to one of these events or one of these meetups, it would just be like, this is so stupid. We shouldn't be doing this right now. Like, what's going on? What is our life right now? Uh, because like right after that, we were just like, like Neb was DMing the director, and he's just like, he's just telling Neb some certain things that I'm not sure if we want to share on air. It's actually not anything too serious. I think it was just mainly like memes. He wanted Neb to post about the Blue Beetle Battalion. He was just like, hey, I can't direct this myself. I mean, I can't put this out there myself, but I want you to. So it was really funny that he would just reach out to Neb and just be like, hey, you should post this.
That's good. He's
He's
given the work for you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
he's a pretty smart guy where he has a Twitter account, but it is locked. So he's a genius. He's doing much better than we are.
He's doing very
For
well.
sure.
Yeah. So I met him at the London screening, and then sort of a little press party afterwards, and just to be able to speak with him about the film and his passions and little things about the film that we might not have noticed the first time round, but then he was starting talking about the comics and like deep references within the comics. He knows his stuff, and I love it when a director or a writer or a producer does that effort and goes as a real deep dive into the comics to learn more about the characters that he's helping tell a story to, but also for him to sort of reach out to you and say, look, I know how the internet works. I know what memes can do, post this or do this sort of thing. But he is such a passionate guy as well. One of the sort of the nicest guys I've ever met when it comes to sort of being in the movie business. Such a charming guy, and I really hope we get to see more of that in the future, and we see more of him touring with the whole crew, because I've seen what he's like on his own. He's pretty much carried them in this promotional tour by himself. But to see what he's like with the rest of the cast, and you've probably seen his Instagram stories over the last few days. They're just constant. He's been resharing people's experiences, and he's been sharing people's thoughts on the films. And it's clear that he's got a lot of love for this movie and the character. And I'm not done seeing what he can do with this film. But let's talk a bit more about that screening that you both went to, because that must have been a very exciting time.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. I can't remember when exactly we got the news. But yeah, we just were like, oh no, it was after we had met Zolo that we got reached out to, and they were like, hey, I hope you had a great time. We also want to get you into the premiere. No promises, we can't guarantee anything, but we're gonna try to pull some strings for you guys, because we've really loved what you've been doing with the Blue Beetle Battalion, and we want to make sure we get the word out, and we want to just be able to show the love to you guys that you have shown for us, which was just like already just so far above and beyond what we had expected. Like, if you had told us like back when we started the hashtag that's where we would end up being by just like less than like 40 days later, is just insane. But yeah, no, it ended up happening. We ended up getting the tickets, and we're just like, man, this is just this is so out of hand. And we ended up going. We went to the Chinese theater in LA, and it was our first time, both of us, going and seeing a movie in that theater. And it's just massive. It's gorgeous. All like the interior is just like you can get just stuck staring at the ceiling, because of like the architecture and the crazy history in there is just, yeah, no, it was something else. And to be there at the specifically blue carpet, which was really funny, was so cool. And yeah, just because like you see all the videos, all like the TMZ like celebrities on the red carpet or whatever, so to like actually be there and just we felt so out of place, but at the same time it was just so amazing.
Yeah, it was really funny because we're I mean, we're not small accounts, but we're not like, these TikTok influencers with like hundreds of thousands of followers, right? Like I'm glad we have the influence that we do, but yeah, it's a pretty rare like opportunity for us. And that was just the coolest thing. And I think like honestly, my favorite part of the whole thing was just before the movie started, the director, and how he came out and he was just spending about like 10 minutes just thanking everybody who worked on the movie. And it was really cool where he would just shout out a specific like department, and a different part of the audience would like erupt in cheers and clapping and things like that. And it was just a really cool experience just being in that theater with just the whole like crew of the movie, basically the people who brought it to life, and obviously like other friends and family too, and just a majority Latino audience. It was just the craziest like movie screening like I've ever been a part of. It was just, I'm really grateful that it all happened. And yeah, then the actual movie it helps that that was amazing too. It's in my like top 5 like DC movies ever now. Like it's so good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a character for me that grew on me from. I mean, you can tell I'm a huge Superman fan, but Blue Beetle was a character that I was aware of but didn't know too much about. Now, before we hit record on this podcast, we were talking about the importance of comics, and if we don't have the comics, we don't have the films. So yeah, I think after one of the first times that Blue Beetle was announced, DC and Warner Bros. Were like, well, here's some recommended reading. Go and read these stories. And it's something that hasn't really been done too much before, but it's something that is being done now, and because of it, these books are being sold out. They're being sold out on Amazon, and they're having to be reprinted, which is great because, you know, if we don't have these stories, we don't have the films. So I went out and bought a lot of Blue Beetle, and I was not disappointed. And I love the stories, and I love the characters, and the potential for what this could mean for the future. And I mean, yeah, and not only, as you said, you know, meeting the people that make these films happen is exciting. It's like a pinch me moment when it happens, but when that film is good as well, and you have a deeper connection to the film because of the lead up, you've got more of a connection. And because you both worked so hard with this Blue Beetle Battalion hashtag, you're a part of the legacy of this film, as it were. Something that I think, even though to some it might not be a lot, but to you it should be a lot. It's a big thing. You've helped make this movie a hit, I feel, because you've constantly made people excited for it. And I'm very grateful for that. I love passionate people, people that aren't afraid of backlash for loving what they love. There was a time in my life where being a geek wasn't necessarily an okay thing. It was
Right.
quite a
People take it
negative
for
term.
granted these days.
Exactly. I mean, when I'm not doing the Geek of Steel stuff, I work in an opticians, so I sell glasses. And there was a time when people would come in and say, I want glasses that make me look like a geek. And I'm like, whoa, I don't want to get fired from my job for having a heated debate. But, you know,
Right.
you can't look like a geek. Being a geek is like a way of life sort of thing. And it's a lot more accepted now to embrace passions. And for you guys to both do this together, to be seen out there constantly promoting films and TV shows, it's a big deal for me. So I'm very grateful for that. But Blue Beetle is out now. It's still out, and it will be. I know you're going to be promoting it as much as you both possibly can. But what's next for you before we start talking about Blue Beetle spoilers? What are your next plans of action?
Honestly, there have been a lot of jokes like, "Oh, you got to do this for Aquaman too." It's like, all right, like I mean, maybe it's God, it's exhausting sometimes, man. It's like,
It's really funny. We've kind of made a joke out of it, like the hashtag Aquaman Armada. You know, you
Yeah, I
gotta
saw that
have
one.
that.
I saw that. It's nice.
You gotta have that alliteration,
I
you
love
know?
alliteration, so it works. So I'm all for it.
So yeah, definitely maybe like a month or so after Blue Beetle's release, we'll start hitting that a little bit. I mean, I don't want to betray Blue Beetle by any means. I want to give it the time and the love it deserves. So maybe not anytime soon, but
yeah, and it's not
eventually
even a
we'll kind of
trailer out yet,
ease.
so
Yeah, eventually we will ease into that Aquaman era probably. Uh, but yeah, right now we're just kind of fully just kind of letting that wave hit us of the release of the film and just enjoying that at full force. And I mean, it's interesting because like, obviously we went into this knowing that, the box office probably wasn't going to be great. And the box office is hitting right now and it's not amazing. And it's kind of, it's a little bit discouraging to see because like, people are like articles are coming out saying like this is the seventh consecutive DC flop in a row. And you're just like, damn, like how do you
Yeah.
even fix this? Superman Legacy got to be so good, man. But,
Nice.
yeah, but even though that's like happening, I really hope just like word of mouth and the fan goodwill that this movie gets to a degree where because it doesn't have the same issues that movies like say Flash have, where Flash is just so divided with the fan reception due to everything that has happened with that film. There's just like, yeah, it's so laden with controversy where Blue Beetle doesn't have that issue. It feels almost like uh the exact opposite of a situation. And I even enjoyed Flash myself, but it's just like, Blue Beetle just is like a love letter to that character. And yeah, it just shows in every aspect possible. So it's just one of those things where it's just like uh I don't know how you can do better than this. And like I don't know, like for a comic book film, like, uh it's just so I don't know how to necessarily describe it. It's just if you were going to make a Blue Beetle movie, like this is like this is it. This
Mm.
is the perfect one you could have gotten. And it's sad because, like, it's not a movie that stars Batman. It's not a movie that has, like, some A-lister from the DC universe in it. But I feel like, it's really interesting with like the way comic book universes in live action are going right now, because it's like, I think a lot of people at Warner Brothers is trying to figure this out too. It's just like, what do the fans care about? Like, obviously DC has been very I'll say unbalanced, because a lot of people who care about DC only care about Batman. And it's really hard to make a DC universe when you have so much stock put into just one character.
Mm.
And so like you can make the perfect Blue Beetle movie, but will, like, the majority of DC fans care because it's not the DC character they want to see. Like, it's really interesting. And obviously there's the other factors of the growing pains of the DC universe, and like the transition period we're in right now. But yeah, no, it just really kind of makes you think a little bit, because this character, like, from a general audience perspective, I can understand why people would be like, why should I care? And it's a good question, but I think there is enough reasons. I think he is so very uniquely, perfectly laid out for the future. Like, I don't know, like if a lot of fans know this, but like the characters that Jaime Reyes interacts with in his original 2006 run are like, Guy Gardner, already confirmed for Superman Legacy. You have
Mhm.
Peacemaker, who is a really big part of that original book.
Yes.
And like, we're in a really bizarre world where we have like a setup and beloved Peacemaker. Like, that's crazy. We have a Booster Gold show confirmed. Booster Gold and Blue Beetle have an iconic comic book friendship. Like, you have all these things that really perfectly set up Blue Beetle for the future, that frankly, yeah, it's just like, of course he'll be back, but it's just a matter of how. And like, I really hope they use him as much as possible, just because he's so perfectly like this piece of the puzzle. I wish that fans would understand how relevant and how important he is as a character in the larger DC universe, outside of just the fact that this is an amazing Latino story that we don't see very often in the cinemas. Like, it's really important to have those stories be told and to be heard. And, as my dad immigrated from Venezuela himself, so like, I have a lot of personal connections to this movie, to this film, to this character, that really mean a lot to me. And yeah, no, it's just been like, one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'm excited for the future of this character, and I really want to see him succeed the most he possibly can.
Yeah, I love hearing when someone enjoys a movie on so many different levels and what it could possibly mean to them. And I'm getting that from you both. That is that, yes, it's got the story, yes, but there's also fantastic casts that are great in front and behind of the camera, but also it gives me an exciting outlook for the future. I love seeing this character in this film, and I want to see more of them. As you put it, you want to see them grow, and as an origin story it's a perfect origin story. You get everything. It's not spoon fed. You get a good idea and a great introduction to the characters, some teasing of a possible future scenario that we can talk about in a moment when we get to the spoilers. But it's also just it's a great it was a great moment to sit down and get lost in that story, and very exciting, very funny. We always seem to sort of say that line, oh, this film's got lots of heart. You always hear that when social media reactions go live after a film comes out, but it's hard not to say that about this film. It's charming. It's got that family aspect. It's got a little bit of romance. It's got someone that clearly, if we all were at that age of sort of becoming a young adult and then we suddenly get superpowers, we want to be excited about it. And that's what we get out of this film. We see a very excited Blue Beetle, and I love that. Now, Neb, I love your name, Neb's Good Takes. Now, this is like where did that name come from, and what was your takeaway from the Blue Beetle movie?
So the name was funny. It was just because I just always went by Neb as short for Nebula, and not the Marvel character. I like space. I don't know,
Nice.
but it's my first Twitter account got suspended, and I just wanted to make another one. It's like, what would be the stupidest name I could possibly have? And I thought this was a good one. And my husband was not as much of a fan of it, but we stick through, we commit to the bit, and
We
sometimes
do.
they work out.
Well
And
done.
yeah, and so it's perfect because it's just immediately whenever I say like something really stupid, it's just like, oh, like more like Neb's bad takes, and it's perfect. I never take anything too seriously, so it's literally whatever. And yeah, and thankfully Blue Beetle turned out to be genuinely great, so it doesn't have to be as much of a bit as I usually have to do around here. Um, and yeah, you kept saying how it was like it had so much heart, and it sounds like kind of cliche to say, but like it is true. Like you can't
Mm,
not say that. To me, like no disrespect to Shazam, but that movie, it was very much meant to be like a Hallmark Christmas movie sort of vibe.
yeah.
And it was really low budget. They probably has like a pretty close budget to Blue Beetle, but there wasn't much in the visuals to me. Like it didn't have that much of a flair to it. And I just feel like Blue Beetle is just sort of like a better version of Shazam in every way that I can think of, where it was just, it really focuses on that loving family aspect, and it really nails it. And I loved every single like cast member because of that, and they feel more fleshed out, and they just contribute more overall. And just yeah,
I
I
think
loved it.
I want to piggyback off that a little bit because I don't want to dog on Shazam too much because I do love that movie. But I think that one thing about Shazam that just wasn't there is that like its connection to the greater DC universe. Like, and I'm not saying that it needs that to be a good movie. And I feel like Blue Beetle shows just that. Like, it doesn't have that like greater DC universe thing going on. Like Superman and Batman are like mentioned, but like at no point you're just like, man, I wonder if Ben Affleck's in this universe. Like you don't
Mm.
care because the story itself is compelling enough to get you to really care and be invested. But like with Shazam, like there was always this awkward like feeling that just kind of was in this pocket of the DC universe and there was no way forward for them. Like how does like Shazam eventually like team up with like the Justice League or whatever? And like sure, in Fury of the Gods, we see Wonder Woman show up. We have a couple cameos or whatnot. We get the infamous decapitated Superman, but with but there's like no real plan to like really have like some kind of like team up movie or like him crossing over with the big leagues. And there's obviously places where that happens in the comics, but in the movies there was just never really like a set plan or like a roadmap for that character to do anything great or big. Where Blue Beetle, even though he doesn't have those things, those cameos that Shazam got, uh, he very much so is set up to be a larger part of James Gunn's DC universe. And I think with origin movies, you have the issue where, and I've said this ad nauseum at this point, but it's like you have this ability to like create a movie and with one movie it's still like the depth is pretty shallow, but you make three Captain America movies and like it gets pretty deep, the mythologic. Like by the third movie you're having like Iron Man fight Captain America and like you're really playing with every element of the universe connected in a way that with just one movie, if you just keep on expanding your universe outward but not deeper, there's a vast difference in what you're able to do because with all these new like number ones, you can't have like a million crossovers, you can't have a million like
Mm.
different like characters interacting. You have to focus on setting up that one character. And but like with Blue Beetle you can as a character, like you have this one movie and you're setting him up and he's really well set up now, but the sequel really has the potential to really root him into like not only just like make his character stronger but like really integrate him and really kind of flesh out not only the character but the universe he's in, which I think is really compelling in a way that gives him a roadmap that uh Shazam just never had that opportunity, which was a shame because I love that character too. And I think that he does deserve to have like that roadmap and to be able to like culminate into something larger. uh and yeah, Blue Beetle has that so clearly. If you just, know a little bit about the comic, like, space that he holds, and the way James Gunn is like paving forward.
So Neb, I want another. When it comes to this, if there is a Blue Beetle sequel, what would be your take on that? Where do you think that could possibly go?
Yeah, so they very clearly set up Ted Kord, and I think you can.
Mm.
First of all, I love how they set up Ted Kord. I've genuinely never cared about him in the comics because I've just never read his stuff. He's
Hmm.
fine, nothing against him, obviously. But yeah, I really love how they set him up as like as somehow even more unhinged Batman in a way that's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah.
Like he's more terrifying because he's just so goofy in a way. And yeah, I think you can tie that in with all of his lore to the Reach as well, because they do not really delve into the Scarab at all. Like, you don't even really get a sense of like what Kajida can necessarily do fully, and the full potential of that. And I think that's just it's really cool because I remember the director had said, "Oh yeah, like we've been thinking of like a Blue Beetle trilogy," and people kind of made fun of it because like they don't really know how much potential this character has, and like I didn't necessarily know either. I've been reading the 2006 comic in prep for this, and I loved it. But it's like, yeah, it's I feel like the movie really elevated a lot of the comic lore in a way, which is really uncommon. Usually, sometimes DC movies will just make stuff up for some reason that's kind of hard to understand where like the ideas came from and why they went in that way. But all the original stuff this movie added to the character, I thought was really good, and it just makes it more exciting. And I feel like, yeah, they would just tell this great story of like getting mentored by Ted Kord, maybe, and just figuring out the origins of Kajida and seeing other scarabs probably because it starts with that animated intro of like 7 other scarabs, right?
Yeah.
And there's like even like I thought it was funny because there was like even like a purple one, and there's never been a purple one ever. Like animation, comics doesn't matter. It just there's never been. I think it's cool they're opening themselves up to that. Also, I didn't notice it, but apparently in that intro as well, Kajida hits like a Green Lantern on the way to Earth. So I have to rewatch it whenever I see it next
Okay.
time. But that
Yeah.
sounds cool.
Yeah. Well, I will be. As I said, a couple of hours time, might be going to go and see it again. So I shall be there with
You got to
eyes.
confirm it for us.
I did. Well,
Yeah.
look, whenever I go to a screening or a press event, I try and write as many notes as I possibly can. Normally on the first page, the handwriting is pretty neat. And even though I'm in the dark, I try not to interrupt my guests that are around me. But then the film starts getting more exciting and my handwriting gets worse and worse and worse. And I think when it got to sort of the fourth page of my sort of note taking, I was like, I saw this, I saw that thing. How do I confirm that what I saw did actually happen? But there was spoiler alert. You've probably seen this film already. People that are listening, if you haven't, go and see it right now, please and thank you. Yes, there was that scene at the end where we saw all the suits and we heard a voice. Have we had confirmation yet of who that voice is that we hear at the end of the film?
Oh, it's definitely Ted Kord. Uh, yeah, it was a pretty cool scene to see, and we can confirm it because he does say like, "Hey,
Yeah.
somebody turned on my computer. Please tell my daughters." He's like, "Oh shit, here we go."
Yes.
It's totally not Jason Sudeikis, but it is. But it's not though. But
They
kind of.
want him to be Jason Sudeikis so bad,
Now, yeah, I
man.
mean, so that's another thing. I love seeing the credits at the end of the film, not just for the fantastic songs that were in the film, including Blue Beetle, but it didn't even say like the voice of this person played this person. Like, no, I've been on IMDb. There is no information there saying who put that voice in. But yeah, there's quite a fair bit of speculation about Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Just from like, if that's just like an unknown actor who just lent his voice to that clip,
Hmm.
it's weird that he isn't in the credits because it's just like, dang, you're just not going to credit an actor for his work.
Yeah.
But
Mm,
yeah, interesting. But unless if they're like, it's yeah, I don't know. That's why we're on strike, guys.
that's it.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the future, and I think the presence of Ted Kord is so
Mm.
prevalent in the entire film. You feel him like throughout, just like through other characters, like I think it's really funny because I feel like Rudy is like the spiritual successor to Ted, kind of, because he's working with all the gadgets, he's piloting the bug, and like,
Yes,
you know, he turns on like the needle drop when like Motley Crue starts playing. I'm just like, oh man, I could totally see Ted Cord doing that.
that's
And
it.
like, it's really funny, and like all the gadgets, like, you know, the silly stuff like the bug farts, or like, you know, the bubble gum that
Mm.
Jenny uses to get free from Victoria, like all that kind of stuff. I'm just like, yeah, you know, like this usually probably wouldn't work, but knowing for a fact this is Ted Cord, the guy who usually teams up with Booster Gold of all
Yes.
people, like, yeah, of course he would do
It
that.
was there were some silly things, but not so much that it was just crazy. But again, lots of pop culture references. I love the fact that Cheech and Chong are now canon in the DC universe, because you see a bobblehead of them in the car in the beginning. There was a Selena song. I'm a big Selena fan, and you know, that's that link between her, J Lo, and Ben Affleck. There's the red string there going towards it. But there was another product placement towards the end of the film. I don't know if you spotted it, but there were a couple of scenes where you saw packets of Oreos. Did you see that?
I did not see that, but I
Okay,
know where
so
you're going with
I
this.
did see it on the second time.
yeah, so I saw that, and that really excited me because Martian Manhunter is like a favorite of mine. And yeah, when I saw the director at the after party afterwards, that was my first question to him, and he was like, "Oh, you spotted that? Well done." I was like, and then we had a big chat about the potential of where this story could go in the future. And he said, "Yeah, what would you think about a Martian Manhunter?" In I was like, "Wah," and like my head just blew up. But it's things like that that are silly, and but people can understand a reference towards it without being forced it down their throat, sort of thing. But with this film, there were lots of fun stuff like that, and that's what I'm really excited to go back and see it again tonight.
I haven't even thought about that, but that's such a cool idea to just have Jaime team up with a character like Martian Manhunter, because they're
Mm.
doing similar things right now in the comics with Starfire mentoring Jaime. So it's just kind of like, oh yeah, having like an alien based character kind of mentor Jaime who has this alien scarab.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense, and it's really cool to see. And it's like, why haven't they done this sooner? So like, yeah, Martian Manhunter, especially with his ties to like the JLI generation with Booster and Ted,
Mm-hmm.
like it just makes sense, and that would be so cool to see. I'm really glad you picked up on that because I totally missed that.
There's lots of
There's
potential. It's so much.
There's one thing that I didn't pick up on. Apparently, it's just in Spanish on one of the TVs as the news is playing, and it's not subtitled. Where apparently one of the newscasters said that Bruce Wayne has purchased Twitter. So I thought that was just, it doesn't mean anything. It's not that important, but I really appreciate it. It's,
It's a
I
nice
thought it was
little
really
dig.
funny when
I
someone
like that.
mentioned it. Yeah.
Oh, see, that's the thing. I mean, yeah, there were. I like that fact that there were jokes on everything for a lot of different levels, but for that culture of having lots of, there were some Spanish subtitles in there. I've been trying on and off learning Spanish for the last year or so. So I like the fact that some of the dialogue was subtitled, some of it wasn't. There was lots of laughter in round the cinema when I was watching it for scenes that I wouldn't really know sort of an in joke about. Also, sort of being in England, we don't get a lot of that culture here, but I'm a big fan of it. So I wanted to know more. So it got me asking questions to people that have seen the film, and sort of, especially that character, the cartoon character. We didn't know much about that. That there's two post credit scenes in the film. One that we've talked about, but there was also that cartoon at the very end. Now I had to Google that to learn more about it. But to me, it didn't mean much. But to a wider audience, it means a lot more. And that's, you know, I do like seeing that representation where there's something there for everybody, and it's a
Yeah.
great touch.
The audience at the premiere, that's why it was so cool seeing it with a majority Latino audience, is that
Mm.
when he showed up, they were freaking out. There were a lot of just funny jokes when the grandmother woke Jaime up with like the vapor rub. They were just dying laughing. There's a lot of just funny things like that where it's kind of cool to like, even though there's Spanish that's not subtitled, you can still infer what they're saying, so it
Mm.
doesn't feel like you're missing out. And it's funnier almost when the cultural jokes hit and you don't laugh at first, and then you see everybody else laugh, and it's a cute moment where it's like, oh, that joke wasn't meant for me, but that's it's still funny. Like
It was.
it
It
was just
was.
such a cool experience.
Yeah, but and then sort of once when we saw had the screening here in the UK, and we had the press event and then the party afterwards, it was a very exciting day. And sometimes I don't know how you guys were after that, you know, after that very exciting, the premiere event. Sometimes my social battery drains right down, and like I need some time to sort of regather myself. But after that screening, we went to a party, which was very exciting, and there was lots of Blue Beetle themed cocktails, which were incredibly strong. And the director was there, and he was dancing all night and interacting with everybody and dancing with the DJ. After that, somehow we attended an after party with him, and there were even more drinks flowing. And I think I got back to my hotel at about 3 or 4, and we had a meet and greet at 9 a.m. Now, I tried to have as much coffee as I possibly could to make myself presentable. I did a good job. I don't know how, but Angel he was fine. Nothing. I mean, he's invincible when it comes to this, and you could tell the way that he was still interacting with everybody, that he had so much love for this film. Yes, we could tell that he was working, but at the same time, so passionate about these characters, because he was asking us all, what would you like in a sequel? Who would you like to see these characters interactive? Where would you like to see this story go? And it was like, wow, he's either trying to fish stories out of us, or he wants the best for this character. And that's what I'm going with. He just wants the best for this character.
For sure. He's just one of the nicest people we've ever met. It was so true because we went to the after party as well. And it was just, he seemed so genuinely excited to meet us because, you know, I don't put my face online, but he recognized my husband immediately. And his face lit up. He was so happy. And we ran into him again later. And it was funny. He was just like introducing us to like other like executives and producers and things like that. It was so surreal, first of all, obviously. But yeah, it was funny. It was like he was just most excited to meet us out of all people, just because we just like had that much passion for his movie. It was like the sweetest thing. And yeah, he's so easy to talk to and passionate, and you'd never guess. But as far as I'm aware, this is like his first feature film. I'm pretty sure. And it's crazy, just because like the everything about this movie feels like it had the best possible crew members behind it, like set design, you know, like DP, like everything just looked like so like expertly crafted. Like even, you know, the fight scenes are crazy. Like we haven't even done to that yet.
Wow.
Like I could
Yeah.
watch those like over and over again. It's just the best of choreography from like Daredevil to Zack Snyder stuff. Just it was so cool to see.
I think one of the things too is with comic book films currently coming out, I think a lot of complaints come into like, hey, like this movie is kind of ugly, or like it's not lit very well. Stuff like that from like a creator standpoint, where it's just like, man, I wish I could see better, or wish. And I think this movie is so uh carefully crafted with so much just like attention to detail. Like there's like a lighting theme throughout the movie of just like the neon colors, and they do such a great job setting up Palmyra City, which is not all in the comics. It's just, but by the time you finish the movie, you feel as if it's so well realized, better than some other movies that have had comic book cities that are in their movies, and like they don't focus on that at all. But like this movie just put everything into the mythos and lore that it had at its disposal. Even the stuff that was new and original to this movie felt so baked in and so much like it was from like some source material that was being carefully followed. Like yeah, Angel Manuel Soto just really had an eye for what he was doing, and he really cared, and all that care and love shows.
Yeah. I mean, I think when a movie is made with love, it's made with passion and just a want to have this character's story told. That's a big part of the machine that makes a film successful with the fans. And from the fans that I've spoken with about this film, that they've loved every moment. They've loved everything about it. As you said, the visuals, the brightness, the music, the incredible fighting, the physical stunts, that costume, which was just outstanding, and the cosplayers that I've seen around the world now that are making their own suits. It's going to have a knock-on effect, and I'm hoping that yes, this film still has legs, and it still continues to make money. I know I'm going to be seeing it more than a few more times before it stops running. But a film even with the Flash when that got released on digital, it's still got some more traction. It's still got some less hate in a way than it did when it was released in the cinemas. And I'm hoping the Blue Beetle Blu-ray and the Steelbook and the promotion that comes out after this continues to do so, because this film deserves all the love that it is getting. But if you had to pick a favorite scene from this particular movie, guys, what would be your favorite moment?
It would definitely be when he sees his father in the afterlife. I thought I would have never expected that to be in the movie, and I picked up that on the second watch that it was sort of a nod to Zack Snyder's Justice League with At the Speed of Force. Not exact, obviously, but uh, I just thought like that was one of the coolest things. The way the score like swelled up as well.
Wow.
We haven't like mentioned the score yet, but like it's might be my favorite score on a comic book movie of all time as well. Is yeah, and I was like sobbing in the theater seeing that. People didn't expect this movie to be emotional either. Like there's like three different points where you like can't help but cry. And yeah, I thought that was just incredible to witness. And yeah, I think it's definitely my favorite.
I think, yeah, unanimously, that's yeah, my favorite scene too. And we've talked about it a lot because like it's completely hidden from any of the marketing or anything. So we had no idea there was going to be a sequence like that where they just kind of go into the afterlife, and it's just like, whoa, we're doing this, and to see like just that scene is so powerful because it's literally just it's not only Jaime's dad telling him like, hey, like you have to be strong and move on, but Jaime is literally in that scene, like, before he even realizes that he's fighting for his own life. And when it turns to him like running and jumping and like, reaching out to the suit, like, and he's like, I need you, Kaji. It's just like, wow, it really hits you. And just I love the relationship he has with his dad. I had to call my dad last night because I was just thinking about that scene in my head. I was like, man, I love my dad.
Yeah.
Like,
It was funny because like after the Flash, a lot of people felt that way about their mom, and I like called my mom too, and like now it's like shit, I gotta call my dad too. They gotta stop. This is too much.
It's saving a lot of therapy. It's just what it's doing. It's when a film can make you connect with the character through that, whether it be the loss or a reconnection with the family member. It's sometimes when it comes out of the blue, that's when it can hit you. And I mean, yes, it's sort of when you have those moments where you can relate with losing a relative or losing a connection with a loved one, when you are urged by a film, by a comic story to reconnect with a loved one. That's just another piece of the puzzle that makes this film a hit for me. And I love hearing that.
yeah, no, it's really funny. I have like a rule myself with movies. Like if it's able to make me cry, then I feel like that should be just like an automatic 10 out of 10 because that's just such, I don't usually cry. And that's like such an extreme emotion. So if you're able as a filmmaker to be able to invoke that emotion out of your audience, there's something to be said about that. But I think I need to add on to that list. Like, if this movie makes you call your mom or dad, like easily it should be like a 10 out of 10. But yeah, there's something to be said about that.
Yeah.
It was funny at the premiere screening. There was a girl next to me in Raven cosplay. It was like a group of friends who were all cosplayers. One was in Blue Beetle, another was a Sasha Kaye Supergirl, and then it looks like her little sister might have been Raven. And it was so funny. It's like for the entirety of the third act, almost, it was like she was like loudly sniffling, like, and I've never experienced that in a movie theater before, and that was the cutest thing. And like yeah, it's like I felt the same way, man. Like, it it really, I just so because the director has mentioned how he's a big Zack Snyder fan,
Mhm.
and there was an article saying that there was a few Man of Steel references, and I caught them because people expected that meant like literal like a report would mention like Black Zero or something. But what it was is that in the final fight, there's the shot of his fists on the ground with the like vibration swelling
Yep.
up and the particles getting up, like in the fight scene. Then he starts moving, and it's supposed to be that shot of Clark flying through that collapsing building while he's fighting Zod. And then they have the other one when he's fighting Namek, and he says like, "You think you deter my mother?" And he's just punching him as they're flying. That was just such a cool thing to notice as a DC fan, but also because it's tributing Zack Snyder and Sam Raimi at the same time, where he has that battle damaged look and he's just pissed. I thought, like, yeah, you can tell like Angel just grew up with these movies and he just all he's wanted to do is just like give tribute to these creatives who helped him get here. I thought that was really beautiful. It's like so the final part of the last fight was like definitely my second favorite part of the movie, especially when they elaborate on Carapatch's backstory, because I expected him to be a lot more generic than he was, which I
Yeah, no,
really
that was
appreciate.
very interesting origin. That was
I really
very
wanted to talk about Carabax too, because like as a character, I remember first when we got the look of his suit in like one of the trailers or whatever, I was just like, oh, they're just doing like the anti-Beetle or whatever.
yeah.
And then I kind of looked into it a little bit more and I was like, wait, this is like his exact costume to a T, and it's really crazy. It's such a corny 90s costume for that character. And the fact that he was like a Ted Cord villain back in the day, and like have such like a deep cut for a character who obviously isn't prevalent in the comics, but it's just like someone, if you're a Blue Beetle fan, you know about this character, and to repurpose him in this way in such an inspired take too. I think it's another testament to the film and to the creators of the film with how much love and the fact that like they weren't, you know, too big or like too serious to be like, oh man, we're gonna completely redesign this character to make him cool. They're like, no, we're gonna
Nope.
take this crazy 90s ass design and just, you know, fully bring it to life. And it had no right to be as cool as it was, but it was so cool, man. It was great.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I'm really hoping for when this gets released on DVD and Steelbook. I'm going to get all the copies. I think I would really like a director's commentary just to hear more about how some of these visuals were created, how some of these physical stunts and fighting scenes were done. We know that Jolo's a fantastic fighter from the Cobra Kai days, but some of that stuff within the suit just looks so good. It looks so cool. And as you said, with that score that's just been released over the last few days, it is a fantastic, motivating score. It's making me want to get up and sometimes maybe even try some physical exercise. It's that inspiring. But it was a
That's pretty
fantastic.
impressive. You know,
Yeah,
when a comic book movie makes, comic fans want to get exercise, that's
that's
extremely
it.
impressive.
I mean,
It's
I probably won't. I
incredible.
won't. I won't look as good in the Blue Beetle suit, but I'll give it a
Yeah,
go. But
that's
yeah,
fair though.
it was a
But I
fantastic
saw
soundtrack.
the suit. I mean, I'm not sure entirely who made it, but I did see an article headline saying it was made by Ironhead Studios, and I read that and I was like, oh yeah, of course they did. Like, if anyone was gonna do a suit like that, it would be them. And yeah, I didn't say it's the best comic book movie suit of all time. I don't even care anymore. Like, I tried to toe the line and be like, oh, it's top three, but it's a perfect like depiction of the comic version. Looks exactly like how it would.
Hmm.
Looks even a little cooler than it does in the comics because of all the added details you can do in real life. And it has the most flexibility I've ever seen. So I asked Jolo about it when we met up, and he said that there's about like 5 layers to it too, which you would never even guess, first of all. And I don't even remember the specifics or anything, but yeah, it's a lot of work to get in, obviously.
Yeah. But with everything he does, he made it work and he made that character his own. He is now, for me, when I see him now, I do see Blue Beetle. That's what I think. When someone is so good in a role, you think that is the person behind the character. And I think he's enjoyed it so much. He's enjoyed putting on that suit and playing a superhero. And that's what I want to see more of in the future.
I think it's such a shame that he can't promote this film because yeah, it's like so much of this movie he's such a like, and I think it's also a testament to this film that I can't even like fully say that he is the heart of the film, because I feel like the heart just is like a shared effort from everybody. And not to say that he isn't like the heart of the film, because he obviously is a strong part of it, and like he's so amazing, he perfectly encapsulates Jaime Reyes, but this movie is so strong that I feel like it would be discrediting the director or like the creators or like the other cast members, that like this was a very much so a group effort that everyone put their all into, and it really shows. And but yeah, his work as Jaime is just like, yeah, that is just Jaime Reyes. And like we were talking about the accuracies of the costume and how well done they were at like, you know, bringing that to life, and like, you know, doing things like, oh man, he has like like these injustice moves that they clearly pulled from the video
Yeah.
games. And like, he also like shoots Carapax at a certain moment with a blast that is almost like a shot for shot reenactment of one of the Teen Titans animated movies with Blue Beetle in it. And like stuff like that, where you could just tell that the director did his homework and has knowledge of all of Blue Beetle's prior appearances, whether it be comic books, video games, or other media. And like, you don't see that in comic book movies. Like, you just don't, where they've done this much homework. So like, it's really cathartic. And then just like, Jolo as Jaime, he's just so he's so instantly lovable. And he yeah, no, I don't know, I just can't stop singing this movie's praises, because like, even though right now it's going through some pretty hard times at the box office, it does feel like it's not the perfect movie, but for me it feels like one of the perfect comic book adaptations, especially when it's like not a one-to-one adaptation by any means. It takes a lot of its own liberties, and definitely kind of paves its own path, and there's a lot of differences from the comics, but it still feels like the soul of the comic is so intact and so clearly showing that like, it's okay that it made those changes. It's okay that it's not one-to-one, because there's clearly a story that's being told here that needs to be told, and has a place that is going. And I really need not only a sequel, but Angel Manuel Soto to like be directing it, because he clearly has a story he needs to tell, and it wouldn't be the same without him.
No. Well, this has made me even more excited to see the film again. And I said it's going to be happening for me in a few more hours, and I can't wait to go back and see that intro and keep a little eye out for any more extra little things that I might have missed. But this is what I enjoy doing, is speaking with people about the films that we all watch together. And when we finally get a character that we've appreciated for so long, we see him in a film, or we see them brought to life in a positive way. And as I said before, thank you so much for all you've both done for the Blue Beetle Battalion, for making all your. It's not easy what you do online. There are good days and bad days when you don't want to interact with certain people that are on the internet, but there are always some people that are all positive of what you do. And
they're on our asses, man.
It's a very delicate balancing act. And, some people are better at it than others. I try my best. It's been doing pretty well, but yeah, it's nice that this movie's been a lot less divisive than the previous ones. There are still people who just like haven't seen it and are being rude about it, but it's really nice that there's a bunch of we can all sort of agree as a fandom for the first time in a while that that we just all really liked this. Like we can all agree it's really good, and that's nice. Even if it's not making money, who cares? I'm just it's nice to see a good Rotten Tomatoes score. It's refreshing. It's been a bit.
It was nice to see that, to sort of see a film come back. I mean, I know sometimes there is some controversy behind the Rotten Tomatoes scenario and how all that system works, but to see something positive come out of it, but more importantly, as you said, to interact with other people that we might not necessarily could have talked to about it, it's nice to see the positive and hear the positive, and to encourage more people to go and see it, which you continue to do. So thank you for that. And I'll look forward to the Aquaman Armada, whenever that may be. But in the meantime,
we might have to do some word shopping.
Yes, that's fine. It's still that nice bit of alliteration there. So you've got that going on. But when that happens, where can people follow that campaign? Where can they find you online, guys?
So you can follow me on Twitter at Neb's Good Takes, and my husband at Croc_blog. When that Aquaman thing starts, admittedly, we're not the biggest Aquaman people in the world, and there are some pre-existing ones. So we're not even entirely sure if we want to be like the leaders, quote unquote, of a movement. We don't want to step on any toes, but we'll see how it goes for sure. Just follow us to stay updated.
And that's it. That's the more I see it, the more the merrier. As long as people are sort of helping promote films, then we're still going to keep on getting them. When flowers don't get watered, they wither. And there will be a day when superhero fatigue doesn't exist, because we won't have superhero movies at all. And for me, that would be a very sad day. But guys, thank you so very much for joining me on this special podcast. I think we'll be talking again in the future. And who knows, maybe when the film gets released, we can all sit down and watch the film together and do a live watch along or something along that. But
That'd be
thank you.
great.
All right.
Yeah, no, this has been a lot of fun. I wanted to add on a little quick plug to my YouTube as well. If people want to
Yes.
see that Blue Beetle interview with the comic book writer Josh Trujillo, you can find that on YouTube at Croc. I think it's Croc underscore block 2 or Croc block 2. I think it'll be in the description.
It'll be in the description, and all
but-
the links will be in this
Yeah,
podcast as well. So I'll make sure that
And
will get
the
shared out.
interview is my pinned tweet on my profile, so you can just find
Oh
it there
yeah,
as well.
that too.
There we go. What a team you both are. That's what we like. This is great. You've got each other's backs. Guys, thank you so very, very much. We'll speak again soon, but thank you for your time.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much.